Pope Francis has appointed Most Reverend Robert G. Casey, the Auxiliary Bishop of the Archdiocese of Chicago, as the 11th Archbishop of the Archdiocese of Cincinnati.
I think what has surprised me most is just the reality of God being so good at surprising us. And I think that has just been evident in my life continually. So moving to the Archdiocese of Cincinnati and seeing how God has introduced me to unexpected people and unexpected places where I have discovered God present and really active in the church here. It's just, that's been the surprise, is the same experience of church, the same experience of Father, Son, and Spirit that I had in my life in Chicago. I find that here, we are one. And so it's been a wonderful surprise, just being able to settle into this archdiocese and feel at home. I think a few standouts of this first year. One that comes out of sadness was the fire in Maria Stein when St. John's burned. But the Chancellor and I drove up to the parish the next day for a Mass with the people. And they were surprised to see us there. You know, we had to get up at 6 and get in the car and drive 2 hours to be on time for the 9 a.m. Mass. And they were like, "Archbishop, you're here." And I said, "Of course I am. Our family had a tragedy. When families have tragedies, we pull together." So it was important for me. That's how I was raised, you know, as my parents taught me well. And so of course I was going to go up to Chickasaw for that Mass. But then to see the people in this archdiocese respond with such charity and compassion towards their brothers and sisters who had suffered the loss of that church, that was a beautiful moment. And I would say, on a more happy note, my experience of throwing the first pitch at the Reds game at the end of August, that was really, it was just a great experience of our local church. I've shared with a number of people. Somebody said to me, "Archbishop, that's such a frivolous thing to do with your time. There are so many more important things going on, and you're throwing a baseball." And I had to remind them that evening at the ballpark was just a great experience of church. We did not mention Jesus. I didn't go out onto that pitcher's mound proclaiming Christ present, but without a word, we evangelized that night because people saw this joyful Catholic population, these families and school families. And it was just a wonderful evening at the ballpark, in which I thought we really showed the joy of being Catholic and the presence of the Catholic community here in our archdiocese. So and also just the fact that I got the pitch to stay in the air and go to the catcher was a miracle in and of itself. So I really enjoyed that evening. I think here in the archdiocese, we face the same opportunities that we see all across the country. The opportunity really to proclaim Jesus alive and present and in our midst. There are so many in our midst that don't realize that our belief is not something of our imagination, that our experience of Christ is real. And Christ is truly present, and not just in our church, but in our streets, in our neighborhoods. And when our church can live that more fully and truly give people an encounter with Christ, that's the opportunity that I look forward to, is how can we not just be satisfied with those that are coming into the four walls of our church, but how can we get out of those four walls into our communities and really help people experience the joy of the gospel that we know to be true. My first job was mowing the lawn and shoveling the snow of an elderly woman in my neighborhood. And that was before I turned 16. But in my family, when you turned 16, you got a job. And I remember that day, I got on my bicycle and I was not going to work at McDonald's where my brother and sister worked. I was going to do something different. I ended up working at McDonald's. And I was very good, by the way. I could handle the drive-through better than anybody.
I was going to say, what positions at McDonald's, out of curiosity? The drive-through?
The drive-through.
Yeah.
That was my domain, yeah.
Nice.
I'm about to read a book on breathing that fell into my hands. And so it looks at breath from the different perspectives of breathing, both from the physical action of breathing, but also what does breath do to you emotionally, spiritually, the idea of the Holy Spirit as breath. So I'm looking forward to reading that book. That should be an interesting read. My favorite season is the fall. I love the changing colors. I love those crisp autumn mornings where it's just starting to turn cold and that crispness in the air. Yeah, so fall I would say is my favorite season. This is probably a little controversial because I think Graeter's ice cream, I've heard the top flavor is black raspberry.
Black chocolate chip raspberry.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I prefer black cherry. My favorite Graeter's is really more the black cherry with chocolate chips. That's the one that I really enjoy. I learned how to throw a baseball. That is something that my family still cannot believe. It took me coming to Cincinnati to become a baseball fan. I was never a sports kid growing up. It was my brothers, it was my sister. And so to find myself all of a sudden looking forward to opening day of the Reds is kind of a new experience for me. But that's something new. I think the other thing is I've never been the ordinary of a diocese. I was an auxiliary bishop up in Chicago. And so to have Pope Francis invite me to take on the leadership of this local church, that's something new. And so I must say, I'm very grateful to, Cardinal Bernardine, who ordained me a priest 32 years ago. I'm grateful to Cardinal George and Cardinal Supich, these bishops who helped school me and prepare me, not knowing that what they were teaching me in word and example would lead to this. But I'm learning how to take on the mantle of being the shepherd here.